Hey guys, welcome to the Cinema Corral. This is the section of my YouTube channel where I talk about the latest releases. This episode, I'm going to be talking about the films that came out the week of June 7th, 2019. There's only two movies, Dark Phoenix and Secret Life of Pets 2, so let's jump right into it. Okay, so let's start with the Secret Life of Pets 2. This is obviously the sequel to the Illumination film Secret Life of Pets. If you haven't seen it, it's basically a knockoff of Toy Story, but with pets. But compared to the second film, the first one is a masterpiece. Secret Life of Pets 2 is absolute trash. There's some decent animation, but it's nothing spectacular. It's fine, it's nothing really amazing. It's not going to grab your attention like something Pixar would do. The comedy is really flat in this movie. There are no jokes that ever really land in this thing for me. And it largely consists of very shallow, underdeveloped observational humor. Like, dogs do this. Isn't that funny? Sometimes cats do the hairball thing. Laugh. It's really not funny. Surprisingly, there isn't as much toilet humor as there was in the first one. And given Illumination's track record, I'm really surprised by that. But nothing in this film comedically really lands. There's really not a story in this film. In fact, there's three, arguably four stories in this thing, and they're tied together very loosely. Have you ever seen Atlantis, Milo's Return, or was it Belle's Magical World? There was another one. What was it? Tarzan and Jane. The direct-to-video Disney sequels that just tied together some really poorly animated, poorly voice-acted, poorly written, basically TV episodes that got rejected, and then they just had some really loose connective tissue. That's basically what this is. It's really frustrating because we focus on the wrong story at the end. So the film starts with Max. He's the main dog that in the first one was voiced by Louis C.K., but because of the whole sexual misconduct scandal, he's been replaced by Patton Oswalt. So Max starts out the film saying something like, "I hate kids," and then they resolve that in 5 minutes by, "Oh, well, kids aren't that bad. Okay, I guess I don't really like kids, but I like this kid because his owner has a kid." And so they go to a farm for some reason, and then Max gives Gidget the little, I think, Pomeranian, his favorite toy, and then that goes into its own little story. And then you have Kevin Hart Rabbit, I think Snowball was the name, and he does a thing with Tiffany Haddish. They go on like a superhero quote-unquote quest, even though Tiffany Haddish's character does all the legwork. While on the farm, Max meets Harrison Ford's dog, who they somehow managed to wrangle into this thing. And Harrison Ford teaches Max not to be such a wimp and to get over his fear of everything, essentially. Instead of focusing on that, instead of having that being the big driving thing, because Max's story basically takes up two of the plots of this film, or at least is the focus of one and kickstarts another, you would think that that would be the main story. Nope. The majority of this story, the majority of the film, the main villain in this thing comes from the Kevin Hart story, where he and some random dog try to save a tiger that the dog saw on an airplane that looked mildly sad. And they rescue the tiger. And it's not a story. And this movie is not even a movie. It's amazing that this even got put on the big screen. They give them all different stories, and they don't match. There's no central theme. And that's what bothers me, because it's just, okay, well, one, you could have had a complete different movie if you stuck with the "I don't like kids," and then eventually you would have basically got Lady and the Tramp knockoff, whereas the first one ripped off Toy Story. But you would have had a better movie if they had, okay, well, Max starts out not liking kids, his owner falls in love, and then follow him and his perspective of his owner having a new person around, getting to know this person, and then at the very end of the first act, you introduce them having a baby or the owner being pregnant, and then you deal with the rest of that, and then you can have him go and interact with the other animals, and they would have their own time to shine. You could have like a comedy bit with Kevin Hart, even though he's really not that funny. You could have a character building moment with Gidget. You could have something with the cat character. I think it was Chloe, that was the name of the cat. You could even do something with having him play off of Duke. And by the way, they really don't do anything with Duke. He is such a background character, whereas he was a pretty big character. He was basically the Buzz Lightyear to Max's Woody in the first one. And in this one, he's absolutely nothing. making me question why they even included him in the first place. Just kill him off or something, I don't know. He doesn't need to be there because he absolutely contributes nothing to the story. My main problem though with this thing is that almost everything in this movie was shown in a trailer or a teaser or something promotional, because there was not a single surprise that I saw in this movie. I don't know, maybe the villain pointing a gun at a tiger or something, but every main thing in this movie was shown in an advertisement. I did not like this at all. In fact, I hated it. I really, really hated it. And it feels like such an empty world too, this movie. There are maybe like 15 total human characters, and I know he's The Secret Life of Pets. It's like going to Godzilla for human characters, but like, no, you want this to feel like an actual world, so why are there only like 15 humans? I really do not like the art style for the Secret Life of Pets movies. I think that the animation is fine, but the art style is generic. The way that the characters look, they look really uninspired and not very unique at all. Though I will give them this. This movie took the only risk that I have seen Illumination ever take in their entire history. They had a character say the word pissed. That is the biggest risk that I have ever seen Illumination take. It's not going to make my top 10 worst list. I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of other films that really, really take the cake on that, but they didn't try on this. They put no effort into it. It was a cash grab. That's the only reason it exists, to make money. And yeah, I know, studios got to make money somehow. Yeah, well, you can at least try. Just because your goal is to make money doesn't mean you can't put effort into it. And before you come at me again, like how I said with Wonder Park, oh, well, it's a kids movie, so, they don't have to put that much effort into it. No, that is a bogus argument, because there are so many good kids movies out there. Ones that not only appeal to children, but also to adults, and ones that adults are still watching today. Saying that quality for a kids movie doesn't matter is such a cop-out, and I'm really tired of hearing it. This movie gets a D-. I don't even really consider it a movie. Next up, we got Dark Phoenix, and this is the last of the Fox X-Men movies, and yeah, this one's trash too. It's bland, there's a lot of really atrocious dialogue, very first draft level bad. There's no emotional weight in this thing. Like, a character dies and I couldn't care less. There's just no real weight to any of these characters, and they're so underdeveloped. Jean Grey is really dull, she's uninteresting, but the movie demands that I feel sympathy for her, and I don't. I don't care about her story. It starts off with her being like 8 years old, and her parents die, and that's supposed to be like the cause of all this angst inside her, and what really helps this Phoenix Force boil to the surface. All these things that have been building for about 20 years of her life, and I don't care. The script is really rushed, there's awful pacing. There's a scene where she reconnects with somebody from her past, I'm not really going to spoil it, and it's supposed to be this big emotional scene, and there's like a bit of a betrayal thing going on there. You're supposed to really feel for her, and I don't, because I wasn't given enough time to care about her. There wasn't a character actually developed there, it was just a puppet. James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Nicholas Hoult, they're basically the only three actors even really trying in this movie. Jennifer Lawrence and Jessica Chastain, they're absolutely phoning it in, and Sophie Turner was just uncharismatic and, like I said before, really boring. I don't watch Game of Thrones, but from what I've heard, she's not really good over there either. Man, she's just absolutely boring and lifeless. There's an exchange between Jean and Mystique at the end of the first act, and it just really feels like Lawrence and Turner are reading dialogue to each other. They're just reading the script to each other. I haven't seen a superhero movie this bad in a while. There are no stakes. There are no real character connections. There's a Cyclops and Jean relationship that feels very forced and unconvincing. The climax is very anticlimactic, and I know that this wasn't really intended to be the final X-Men film from Fox, but it is the final X-Men film from Fox, and as the final film in this Fox version of the franchise, it's really underwhelming. There is nothing here like, yeah, that was a goodbye. That was a proper goodbye. Now, I have not read the Dark Phoenix saga. I know, right? I'm a comic fan and I haven't read the Dark Phoenix saga. But even I can tell that this movie did that story a disservice. A huge disservice. They tried to take an epic saga and squeeze it into an hour and 45-minute film without any of the weight, any of the characterization, any of the drama, any of the stakes, any of the actual repercussions. It's so lazy. There are these aliens that come in, and they're such non-antagonists that they really shouldn't have included them at all. They come to Earth because they're looking for the solar flare that Jean absorbed and that gave her the powers to turn into Dark Phoenix. If you had cut them out, you would have given me more time to develop any kind of connection with these characters. You could have spent the time that you wasted with these stupid aliens, and then you could have used that to flesh out your story. Because as it stands, this is barely a story. I will say though that there's a train fight at the very end. I know that was part of the reshoots, and there's a space mission at the beginning. Those are fine. In fact, some parts of them are even kind of enjoyable. It's cool to watch the mutants do their thing with their unique powers, but action set pieces do not make for a good story. It's just so empty. And I know that there are people saying, oh, well, you shouldn't expect Endgame out of every blockbuster or Infinity War. I'm like, no, I don't expect Endgame or Infinity War. Those two movies make up the end cap to a massive story, so it feels like a major event. I don't want a major event out of every blockbuster movie that I go to see. What I want, and what Infinity War and Endgame do well, is giving you a cohesive story with characters you like and characters you relate to, with stakes and emotional weight that actually make the movie feel like it's worth watching. I do not recommend Dark Phoenix. I will never recommend Dark Phoenix. I will not buy it if it's $3 brand new on Black Friday. I will not buy it if I see it at a yard sale. I will not take it for free. I refuse to even own this movie. I'm going to give Dark Phoenix a D-. This movie sucked. X-Men fans deserved better. So that's all I've got for this episode of Cinema Corral. I am still in the middle of doing my Toy Story series review. This week I am tackling Toy Story 2, so expect that maybe Friday. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I've heard that getting likes and comments actually does help my chances with the YouTube algorithm, so if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate that. But aside from that, that's all I got for you, so I will see you next time.